My first night guarding the dam. The air already felt wrong, heavy, like the water below was breathing. They handed me a laminated rule sheet before I even got the keys. Rule 1. Never look directly at the water after midnight. Rule 2. If the humming stops, don't move. Rule 3. Whatever you see on the cameras, pretend you didn't. No one explained why the last guard never came back, or why the generator lights pointed away from the reservoir instead of toward it, or why the concrete sometimes pulsed. I thought it was just nerves until I saw my reflection in the black surface. It blinked first. That was the moment I realized the dam was watching me too. The dam wasn't just big, it loomed. A concrete colossus stretching across a black canyon, its turbines whispering like something alive beneath the water. The whole structure vibrated through the steel railing when I touched it, a deep, low hum that didn't sound mechanical, more like breathing through stone. They called it Site Echo 9, one of several government-monitored hydro dams along the Western Mountain Corridor. My contract said night security technician, but the men who handed me the badge weren't security. They were from some branch I didn't recognize. Their patches had no names, no ranks, just a silver wave symbol. When they left, I was the only one stationed there. Just me, a clipboard, and a list of rules no sane person would believe. The control room sat above the spillway, glass panels overlooking a chasm that dropped hundreds of feet into darkness. The main console flickered with analog dials and warning lights, all green except one, a small red bulb labeled Gate Pressure Anomaly, Sector C. I radioed it in, like the manual said. The voice on the other end wasn't human at first. It sounded looped, distorted, like a voice recorded over itself too many times. Then it cleared. Acknowledged. Maintain visual protocols. Do not approach the spillway. Click. Silence. That was my welcome. By 11:47 p.m., the air had turned cold enough to make my breath fog the glass. The hum of the turbines grew steadier, deeper, resonating through the metal flooring. Then, right on schedule, the clock ticked over to midnight and the humming stopped. Every instinct told me to move, but Rule 2 flashed in my head. If the humming stops, don't move. The entire dam went dead silent, not even the crickets outside, just the wind cutting across the canyon. Then, from somewhere below, a low knocking echoed up through the concrete, slow, rhythmic, almost like something trying to get out. I kept my flashlight pointed down the corridor, my hand trembling. The air felt denser now, like pressure before a storm. The lights flickered twice. On the third flicker, the corridor wasn't empty anymore. A figure was standing halfway down, wet, motionless. Its outline shimmered like heat distortion, but its eyes caught the light, pale, almost luminous. I blinked, gone. When the humming returned, it wasn't the same pitch. It was lower, hungrier. I radioed in again. Control, visual anomaly in the north corridor. Requesting... The voice cut me off. Do not speak of what you saw. Observation only. Then static. I wanted to leave. Every part of me screamed that I wasn't supposed to be here. But Rule 4 said, do not leave your station before 0600 under any circumstance. I sat there watching the reflection of my flashlight ripple in the glass until I realized the light wasn't coming from my torch. It was glowing up from the water below. a slow pulse, like a heartbeat, spreading through the black surface. And in that glow, for a split second, I saw faces moving beneath the water, pressed against the underside of the surface, their mouths open in silent screams. When the pulse faded, the water stilled again. That was when I understood something the rules hadn't said. The dam wasn't built to hold back water. It was built to hold something in. I thought I'd seen the worst of it that night, but then the next shift, Rule 5 changed on its own, rewritten in red ink that wasn't there before. When I came back for my second shift, the air already felt wrong. The hum of the turbines was out of sync, just slightly, but enough to feel it in my bones. It pulsed like a heartbeat you can't quite match your own to. I dropped my duffel by the console and reached for the clipboard. That's when I noticed it. Rule 5 had changed. It used to read, "Do not respond to voices coming from the lower decks." Now it said, "Do not believe the voices from the lower decks." The ink was darker, fresher, written in a thicker hand. At first, I thought maybe someone had slipped in to mess with me, one of the off-site techs maybe. But the keycard log showed only one entry for the last 24 hours. Mine. So I checked the security feed. 10 grainy black and white monitors stacked along the wall. The cameras were all still looping, except for the one labeled Lower Pump Gallery. That feed wasn't static anymore. It showed a corridor submerged ankle-deep in water, lights flickering, walls sweating condensation, and then a figure moved past the lens. Same shimmering distortion as last night, same wet footprints that seemed to drag behind it like smoke underwater. But this time, it stopped, turned, looked straight at the camera. The feed cut to black. That's when the radio crackled. Not the clean digital voice I'd heard before, but an old-style transmission, like something from the 1950s. "Operator, do not access the lower gallery. Repeat, do not access." A long burst of static, then whispering. Not background noise, whispering words. They weren't English. I muted the radio, heart hammering so hard it hurt. That's when I heard it again, knocking, this time from inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the concrete. It vibrated faintly, like something was moving within it, following the rhythm of the turbines. The pattern repeated 3 times. Knock, 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 pause, knock. Rule 6 came back to me. If you hear 4 knocks, respond with 1. I hesitated, just long enough for the lights to flicker again. Then I raised my knuckle and knocked once on the metal console. The entire dam answered back. Every light dimmed, the hum dropped a full octave, and the surface of the water outside rippled, just once, but enough to make the reflection of the moon fracture across it like a broken mirror. The radio came alive again, but the voice sounded close, not from the speaker, from right behind me. "Good. Now keep them calm." I spun around. No one. The clipboard was gone. I found it an hour later on the floor by the main door, open to a new page that hadn't been there before. Another rule, handwritten, red ink. Rule 9. If Rule 5 changes again, evacuate immediately. You are compromised. I stared at that word, compromised, like whatever they were containing here wasn't just physical. Outside, the fog had rolled in thick,
swallowing the canyon. The turbines hummed, distorted in it, turning almost melodic, like distant singing beneath water. Then my monitor pinged, a motion alert. Camera 3, the service bridge across the dam. Someone was out there, a shape half visible in the mist, moving slowly toward the middle of the bridge, barefoot, head tilted back like it was listening for something. And then, faintly, through the glass, I heard them whisper, "You shouldn't have answered." I shut every monitor off, but the reflection in the glass showed the figure standing behind me. I didn't turn around. I just stared at the clipboard, praying that when I looked again, Rule 5 would still be the same. But when I came back the next night, every single rule was rewritten. Not by human hands, the letters moved when I read them.
When I came in for my third shift, the rules were different again. Not just rewritten, alive. The paper pulsed faintly under the light, the ink still wet, like the words had been written seconds before I opened the door. Every letter shimmered faintly, breathing with the rhythm of the turbines. Rule 1 now read, "Keep the lights dim. They see brightness as movement." Rule 2, "Do not look directly at the reflection pool." Rule 3, "If you hear your own name, it's not for you." I didn't breathe. My name wasn't printed anywhere in this facility. No ID, no logs, even the system called me operator. But somehow, this paper knew it. I should have left. Instead, I did what soldiers do. I followed procedure. The lower level doors had been sealed since my first day. Heavy steel, biometric locks, 2-inch thick bolts. But when I walked past them this time, the scanner light was already green, unlocked, waiting. The staircase beyond led down into a cold so sharp it bit into my skin through the uniform. The deeper I went, the more the hum of the dam changed, from a constant vibration to something almost breathing. Halfway down, I found another clipboard. Same handwriting, different rules. Rule 12, "Do not descend past Chamber 3. I was standing next to the sign that read, "Chamber 4. That's when the radio whispered again. "You're late." Not a voice I recognized. Not the woman from before. This one was male, calm, precise. "If you're reading the new list, they've noticed you." I stopped on the stairwell, gripping the rail. The metal was warm, wet. "Don't go further," the voice said. "They mark anyone who reads the new rules." "Who's they?" I asked before thinking. Silence. Then they built the dam around something that wasn't water. Static swallowed the rest. I should have left right then, but I didn't. The air below was trembling like heat haze. The deeper I went, the colder it got, but my palms were sweating. My flashlight flickered once, twice, and then went out. The backup emergency lights buzzed on. Dim red glow, just enough to see outlines. The walls were wrong, rippling slightly like something was pressing against them from the inside. I made it to the base of the stairs where the main floodgate control was supposed to be. Instead, I found a long corridor that wasn't on the schematics. Bare concrete, doors sealed with heavy locks and yellow paint, each door labeled the same way. Containment. Do not open. The last door at the end was different. Rust-streaked, half-buckled outward, like something had hit it from the inside. Painted across it, in that same thick red ink, were words that made my stomach turn. "Do not trust the reflection." And below it, handprints, human-sized, smeared upward as if someone had been dragged away screaming. I lifted my radio.
Control, this is Operator 9. You need to tell me what the hell this place really is. Nothing. Then, 9, you've gone too far. The voice was mine. My exact voice, coming from the radio. It whispered one more thing before the static hit again. Don't look at the glass. I turned slowly toward the containment window beside the buckled door. Inside, darkness, pure black. Then, movement. A face emerged in the reflection. Mine, but older, soaked, eyes black as oil, and behind it shapes pressed against the glass like they were made of mist, trying to remember they were human. My reflection smiled. The turbines above screamed, a low groan like the dam itself was alive. Every bulb shattered at once, plunging the hall into red emergency glow. The clipboard in my hand twitched, new words forming across it as I watched. Rule 13. If your reflection smiles, run. But I didn't run, because as I turned toward the stairwell, someone was standing halfway up, holding another clipboard. And it was me.
He stood halfway up the stairwell, motionless. Same uniform, same patch, same scar running down the left side of his jaw. He looked exactly like me, except for one detail. His clipboard wasn't the one I'd been carrying. It was older, rust-colored at the edges, and the top page read Shift 5, Mirror Protocol. For a moment, I thought I was staring into glass. Then he blinked. "Don't go back up," he said, voice flat, almost mechanical. "They'll hear you leave." My hand tightened around my flashlight. "Who are you?" He tilted his head slightly, the one who didn't run last time. That's when I realized something. His boots weren't wet from condensation. They were dripping dark water, the same color as the reflection fluid I'd seen behind the containment glass. "Listen," he said, stepping down one stair. The sound echoed far too deep, like we were inside a hollow structure. "They're rewriting the rules every cycle. That means the others are already awake." "What others?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he handed me the clipboard. His hand was cold, skin taut like ice. The page beneath the title had only 4 lines. Rule 1. Never occupy the same hallway as your reflection. Rule 2. If 2 operators exist at once, one must return to the dam core. Rule 3. The turbines choose who stays. Rule 4. If neither complies, the water decides. I barely finished reading when the lights above flickered violently. A vibration rippled through the concrete, deep, resonant, angry. He turned his head toward the corridor below. "You woke them early," he said. "Now it will flood again." I took a step back. "Flood? We're miles underground." He almost smiled. "You still think this is about power, don't you?" Then came the sound, a low groaning that vibrated through the steel. The walls flexed, as if the dam was breathing in, then out. A hiss filled the air. The containment door that had been buckled earlier opened inward. The air turned frigid. My breath fogged instantly. From the darkness behind that door came a sound like fabric tearing underwater. "Back up," my doppelganger yelled. "Don't let them see your face." I couldn't move. Shapes were forming in the cold mist, 7 or 8 human outlines, translucent and slow-moving. Each figure shimmered, splitting into faint copies as it stepped forward. The reflections were multiplying themselves.
Then one of them stopped, inches from the light. Its face rippled like liquid trying to remember bone. And then it spoke with my voice. Rule 13. If your reflection speaks before you do, the shift resets. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The clipboard in my hand, the ink started moving again, erasing and rewriting itself. Rule 14. Don't listen to the one above. The doppelganger's face twitched. You're reading the new cycle. They've already chosen. And before I could speak, his eyes turned completely black. He dropped the clipboard and lunged. The impact sent us both crashing against the railing. My flashlight flew, spinning light across the concrete. When it landed, I saw something impossible. His shadow moved in the opposite direction of the light. We struggled, hands slipping in the condensation. The turbine screamed. The dam shuddered like a living heart. He slammed me against the rail, leaning close enough for me to smell the metallic cold of his breath. You always think they can rewrite the rules, he whispered. But you already did this, over and over. Then he let go, not to surrender, but to fall. He stepped backward into the containment corridor and was swallowed by the fog, his shape dissolving into the others. The turbines calmed. The red lights faded to white, and the rules on the page froze again. Ink solidified into something that looked like frost. I was alone, at least I thought I was, until the intercom buzzed. Shift 6 reporting in. Authorization, Operator 9. My heart stopped. There was supposed to be only one Operator 9, but the worst part wasn't hearing my own voice. It was realizing it came from the control room above, the place I'd locked before coming down.
The intercom static crackled again. Shift 6 reporting in. Operator 9, confirm visual feed. My throat went dry. That was my voice. Calm, clipped, military perfect. But I hadn't said a word. I glanced at the radio, half expecting it to spark or glitch, but it stayed solid green, operational, and above it, the indicator light for Control Room A flickered to life, meaning someone or something was up there. I started climbing. Every step echoed against the steel like I was walking inside an empty cathedral. The turbines thudded beneath me, slower now, steady, almost rhythmic, each beat timed with my heartbeat. Halfway up, I passed the reflection window again. This time, the glass was clear, but the corridor behind it was not empty. There was motion, slow, deliberate, like something pacing just out of sight. I didn't look long. You don't survive long in places like this by staring into things that stare back. By the time I reached the upper level, the emergency lights had dimmed into a pale blue glow, same color as the Arctic dawn, the same color as ice. The door to the control room was ajar, just slightly, enough for a narrow strip of light to pulse from within. The comm panel beside it blinked once more. 9, you're late. That was my voice again. Me. But not me. Older, worn out, almost tired of repeating itself. I pushed the door open. The room looked normal at first glance. Rows of monitors, the hum of cooling fans, the low beep of active feeds. But the screens weren't showing the reservoir above the dam. They were showing me. Every angle of the lower levels, stairwells, hallways, even the containment corridor. Each camera feed showed me moving, only I wasn't moving now. In one feed, I was still at the bottom, holding the clipboard. In another, I was halfway up the stairs. And in the last one, the main screen, I was walking into this very control room right now, only I hadn't taken that step yet. I froze. The version of me on screen reached out and touched the console. A split second later, the console beneath my hand lit up, exactly like the video. It wasn't footage. It was a few seconds ahead. They're showing you what's next, the radio whispered. That's how the loop starts. I spun around. Empty room. But the air shimmered near the doorway, just enough to distort the outline of someone standing there. I took one step forward,
and the distortion moved back. I heard the scrape of boots, the faint echo of my own breathing, delayed half a second late. I looked back at the monitors. The screen showing me in the control room now had a new detail. There was another figure entering behind me. It was holding something long, metal. A wrench? A pipe? Then I saw it. On the console, a note had been placed. Same red ink, same handwriting. Rule 15. If you see yourself on the screen, do not turn around. Too late. The reflection in the console glass flickered, and for a moment, my face wasn't my own. Eyes black, jaw unhinged, teeth like cracked glass. The turbines below screamed again, shaking the entire floor. The screen scrambled, static, color bands, distortion, then steadied. Now they all showed one image. The dam from the outside, nighttime, floodlights, blinding the water, and on the narrow catwalk, right above the intake vent, someone walking, wearing my uniform. The timestamp said 0432, but my watch said 211, 2 hours ahead. The next cycle starts when he reaches the gate. One of you has to go, my voice whispered through the static. I grabbed the console mic. Go where? To finish what started below. The voice paused, and then, in a quieter tone, added, You won't remember this part next time. The line went dead. I turned to leave, but on the floor by the door, another clipboard waited. Fresh paper, ink, still drying. Rule 16. The operator on the monitors isn't you. He's waiting for the next flood. And as I looked back at the screens, the figure outside stopped walking, turned, and smiled straight into the camera. Then the turbines began to spin backwards.
At first, I thought the turbines were failing, a malfunction, a reverse surge. But when I checked the dials, every gauge read normal except one. The main flow meter was spinning counterclockwise. The dam was pushing water back into the mountain. A low moan echoed through the structure, like metal remembering pain. Pipes trembled. Valves hissed. The hum that had been steady all night now pulsed with a strange rhythm, like breathing. Slow inhale, slow exhale. And between each pulse, a whisper rose up from the reservoir below. Not wind, not machinery. It sounded like voices, layered and wet, speaking through water. I stared at the control console, hoping for a rational explanation, when the screen blinked again. New feed, grainy, black and white. It was showing the observation corridor from hours earlier. The containment tanks, the ones I'd seen sealed and silent, were open. Shapes floated inside, suspended, drifting like seaweed. No bodies, no blood, but just outlines. Human silhouettes of light and liquid distortion, bending the air around them. Then I saw one of them move, a ripple through the camera feed, as if it noticed me watching. Every monitor began flashing the same symbol, a triangle with an eye inside, the warning mark I'd seen scratched into the lower walls. Then words appeared underneath in flickering red text. Do not observe the current. I stumbled back, hitting the emergency release lever. The siren screamed, but no water burst out. Instead, the turbines slowed, then reversed even faster. The dam's heartbeat was now chaotic, fast, erratic, alive. The air pressure dropped. My ears popped. Every light dimmed to red emergency hue. That's when the reflection in the console started to lag behind me. Not by much, a fraction of a second, but it was enough to notice. Every movement I made, it copied just a heartbeat late. I lifted my hand. It followed, but when I lowered it, it didn't. It just stayed there, palm pressed against the console glass, staring at me through the reflection. Then, crack, a fracture ran across the glass. Behind it, the reflection's eye rolled upward until only white remained, and then water started dripping from the console. I ran out of the control room. The stairwell was vibrating so hard I could feel the bolts in my boots.
The flood alarm screamed in distorted bursts, not steady, but in reverse order. 4, 3, 2, 1, then back up again. As I reached the mid-level, I saw it. Water wasn't rising, it was climbing upward, curling against gravity, like something being pulled back home. Every droplet shimmered faintly blue. Each droplet carried faint human silhouettes inside it, whispering, flickering faces pressed against the liquid surface. And below, in the darkness near the turbines, I saw 7 of them. 7 human figures standing knee-deep in the reversed current, staring up toward me, still, silent, perfectly spaced apart, like they were arranged by a measuring instrument. Rule 7 flashed through my mind. If you see 7 silhouettes in the water, the shift has ended. Leave immediately. Only the exits were gone. Both stairwells were sealed by moving water, swirling upward into the ceiling like reversed waterfalls. Then my radio crackled again, faint, distant, underwater quality. 9, confirm position. You're not supposed to be awake during the reversal. I pressed the transmitter. Who is this? What reversal? Flow must be cleared before daylight. Otherwise, the current remembers you. That phrase, the current remembers you, sank deep into my chest like a stone, because suddenly I understood the pattern of the loops. Every operator before me hadn't been replaced, they'd been absorbed. Their consciousness preserved in the water, cycling endlessly through each inspection, each alarm, each reflection. The dam wasn't just holding water, it was holding memory, and we were its filters. The turbines screeched, metal screamed, water surged upward through the floors, twisting mid-air like serpents made of liquid light. And in one of those surges, I saw my own face staring back, eyes open wide, mouth moving, as if shouting from underneath the surface. It wasn't drowning, it was breathing. Then the radio spoke one last time, calm and cold. Shift 9 complete. Memory retained. Await next operator. The turbine stopped. The water hung frozen mid-air, still, suspended, glowing faintly. Then it all collapsed downward, disappearing into the depths below. When I finally reached the surface hours later, the dam looked normal again. Morning light, calm reservoir, silent machinery. But on the clipboard waiting by the gatehouse, a new rule was added in red ink. Rule 17. Never stay past the backward flow. If you do, the dam learns your name. And under that, my name was already written.
Morning never felt right after the backward flow. The light above the dam wasn't sunlight anymore. It was thin, metallic, almost reflective, like the sky had turned into the surface of water. I stood at the gatehouse, uniform soaked, clipboard trembling in my hands. The new rule still glared at me in red ink, my name written underneath. The pen that wrote it wasn't there. No footsteps, no sign anyone had come or gone. Just the hum of the turbines starting again, steady and calm, as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. That hum had voices in it now. I tried calling command. The signal bounced. Each attempt came back slightly delayed, my own words repeating half a second later, distorted, like an echo from underwater. This is Guard 9 requesting. This is Guard 9 requesting. Then static, then silence. I went to the storage shed to dry off. My boots left wet prints on the concrete, 7 of them before they vanished entirely. When I looked back, the prints weren't gone. They had turned around, facing me. That's when the dam's intercom clicked on. No voice this time, just a faint rhythmic sound. Drip, drip, drip. Then a whisper, soft as breath through pipes. Cycle recorded. Memory retained.
Please proceed to the reservoir deck. My hand moved before I even decided to obey, like a reflex or an order I had already received years ago and was only now remembering. The elevator down to the reservoir was colder than the night before. Condensation dripped from the walls. The deeper I went, the more I felt it. Not temperature, but presence, like thousands of eyes pressed against glass, watching from within the concrete. When the doors opened, light flickered from deep below the grating floor. It wasn't the clean fluorescence of machinery. It was blue-white, like moonlight underwater. In the center of the vast underground chamber stood a single steel column, the heart of the dam. It pulsed faintly, glowing from within. Around it, I saw shadows moving through the water. Not fish, not currents, human forms drifting slowly upward, their faces distorted as if stretched by memory, each one mouthing the same phrase: "Do not observe the current." Then something surfaced near the edge, ahead, eyes open, staring directly at me. I froze. It was me. Same face, same uniform, only his eyes were hollow and his skin translucent, shimmering like water itself. He spoke without sound, just bubbles and ripples, but I understood him completely. We are what remains when the dam forgets. The turbine pulse deepened. The water below began to swirl counterclockwise again. Reflections moved faster than reality. I stumbled back, grabbing a railing, my hand slipping through something wet that wasn't water. A reflection grabbed back. It pulled hard. I felt a sudden rush of cold through my body, like my bloodstream reversed. Every sound around me slowed, voices layering, memories colliding. Not just mine, but dozens, hundreds. I saw flashes. Soldiers in the 1950s building the first containment wall. Scientists wiring cables into the core. Guards before me, all recording the same rules in different handwriting, each face ending the same way, drawn toward the water. The dam wasn't a machine, it was a reservoir for consciousness. Every operator, every shift, every replacement absorbed into the structure, recycled to maintain control of the flow. And now it was choosing me. I fell to my knees, gripping the railing, shouting, but the echo that came back wasn't my voice. Shift 10 confirmed. Operator retained. Then silence, absolute silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing at the top of the dam. Morning light, wind in my hair, everything normal, except the clipboard had changed again. A new set of rules, only 3 this time. Rules of the reservoir. Never trust the reflection that moves first. If you hear your name in the turbines, answer only once. When the dam calls for memory, you are already part of it. I dropped the clipboard and looked out over the water. It was still, calm, and in the center of the reservoir, 7 perfect ripples spread outward, as if something beneath had just entered instead of left. I realized then that the dam didn't contain water to generate power. It contained us, every person who'd ever guarded it, every memory, recycled, refined, and stored like data, a living archive made of human thought. And I had become one more page in that book. If you ever find yourself driving past a government dam that doesn't appear on maps, don't stop, don't take photos, and whenever you do, don't look into the water at dawn. You might see your own reflection before it sees you. because if it moves first, you've already been remembered. YouTube thinks you'll like these next video. Click on it to watch.